Hi guys, I hope you are all well. Hopefully you can hear me nice and clear. Maybe not, we'll see. Today's video I'm gonna tell you what expenses you should expect if you get a bike, a new bike, a used bike, or any other bike. And yet again, when I say bike, I always mean a motorcycle. First expenses you're gonna need is obviously your driving license, and that will depend if you already have like a bike, to give your exam with. If not, you have to rent a bike. Every school has different rentals and everything, so also it obviously depends if you can pass it on your first try or not, Mod 1 and Mod 2. So yeah, driving license definitely is going to be the first one. In London, driving licenses cost from £600 to £1,500. So that's assuming that you don't own a bike and you will pass it on first try. So that's number one. Number two is obviously the most common one, which is going to be the purchase of your bike. So buying a great bike, even if it's old or even if it's used, you can buy a fantastic bike for anything more than £3,000-4,000. So price won't determine if the bike is worth it or not. It's actually the condition and how well was maintained. And some sort of a fly just crashed off my screen. Anyway, so yeah, buying the bike. Let's open this for ventilation. It's pretty hot today. Woo! So buying your bike is gonna be number two, and yeah, that can set you back. Basically, there is no limit that you're gonna spend on that. You could buy one bike for 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 20,000, 50,000. There is no limit. So number three, another thing that it can vary from expense to expense, price to price, is gonna be your insurance. If you live in London, the postcode will determine your insurance. So if you are a new driver, it's going to be way more expensive. If you are an older driver or a rider, your insurance might be slightly cheaper. But yet again, it will depend on your postcode, accidents, claims, and all that stuff that affect the insurance value of the bike, the type of insurance you want, if it's comprehensive or anything like this. So number three is the insurance. Number four, obviously you have to calculate your road tax. It typically is about 80 to 120 pounds a year. I can see an aluminium foil in the front. I'll show you now, 1 second. Hideous London. So yeah, you will need to pay your road tax. Can be 80 pounds, 90, 120. That's for a year. The same as the insurance, that's yearly. Now the expenses you won't see, it's also very important expenses, is your maintenance expenses. That also been affected by how old is the bike, how many miles it has, how heavy it is. For example, a very heavy bike like this VFR, 260 kilo to be exact, it has expenses in terms of tires and brake pads. So you need to use more brake to stop it because it's so heavy, plus the panniers and plus the pillion. And also obviously the tires, they don't last as much because it's so heavy. If you get something heavy, then expect to have more expenses. That can be affected also by how much you ride. If you don't ride too much, then it should be more reasonable. But if you ride everyday commute, obviously those expenses are going to be very heavy. Petrol as well. Petrol can vary, depends on the mileage you do. It can be, for example, I don't know, let's say 60 pounds a week or 40 pounds a week, and then in a month it's gonna be whatever it's gonna be. So you have to calculate that as well. Should we make a nice summary? Yeah. So number one, your driving license expenses, if you're gonna pass it or if you're not gonna pass it, if you need to rent a bike or if you don't need to rent a bike. Number two, obviously the cost of the bike. You can get any bike you want. You can even get a nice bike with low mileage for very, very low price, but that depends on you. What do you need? What's your needs? Number three, insurance, probably the second heaviest after the cost of the bike. Insurance is gonna be probably lethal. Number four, road tax that you can avoid. So license, bike purchase, insurance and road tax, you pay it only once. Insurance and road tax, you pay it only once a year. Bike, obviously only once, and driving license, obviously only once, unless you lose it for some reason. And then, of course, you have the maintenance costs, that if the bike is very heavy, it's going to eat a lot of brake pads, or it's going to take it's going to eat a lot of your tires. That's another thing you have to consider. So these are some points of what should you expect when you're getting a bike. In London, it's going to be way more expensive than you expect because of the insurance and road taxes and the tickets that you're going to get, because you will get tickets for sure, and the expense that it's constant, apart from servicing and road tax, which is once every, come on my friend, few months, is going to be the petrol. You're going to need petrol, guys. There's no way you can. What happened again? They stop everybody. Jesus, holy Christ. That's it for today's video without S in the end. If you think this is helpful, subscribe to the channel. If you think this is not helpful, don't subscribe to the channel. That's fine. Don't worry. Nice bike.